A few weeks ago on the AutoEV channel, I filmed a road test review with the new Kia EV9. And that's the company's all-electric large SUV that's capable of seating up to 7 people. I really like it, I think it's a great car. But it was an interesting divide in the comments. While a lot of people agreed with me and thought, what a great car and what a really practical thing, there was an awful lot of people said, why would you ever need anything that big? I mean, it's ridiculous. It's a huge big thing. Surely there must be something smaller out there. Well, there are plenty of smaller all-electric SUVs. But what if you need the practicality of that 7 seats? Is there a smaller SUV that can seat up to 7 that you might plump for instead? Well, the answer to that is yes. Yes, there is. And this is it. It's the Mercedes-Benz EQB, a 7-seat all-electric compact SUV. And it's just gone through a little bit of a refresh. Welcome to this week's road test review. Welcome to the newly revised Mercedes-Benz EQB. And as always, welcome to AutoEV. Now, before we get started on this week's road test review of the newly revised Mercedes-Benz EQB, it is of course that time where I would ask you to make sure that you are subscribed to the AutoEV channel. Then once you've done that, make sure you've pressed the little bell button down below, because that's the way that you'll get a notification that will tell you when our next video is uploaded and it's gone live. Once you've watched it, if you do enjoy it, please do give it a thumbs up, and of course don't forget, leave us your thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you think about the cars that review, such as the newly revised Mercedes-Benz EQB, and of course on the AutoEV channel as a whole? So, the Mercedes-Benz EQB. A Mercedes-Benz EQ range has been around for a little while now, and if you know anything about sort of like electric cars, you'll probably know that it's sort of like Mercedes-Benz all-electric tag, EQ, a bit like BMW has I, and Audi has e-tron. That's what Mercedes-Benz have, they have EQ. And where they've got sort of like dedicated EVs that are spun from a bespoke EV platform, such as the EQS and EQS SUV, the EQE and the EQE SUV, the EQB, much like its smaller EQA sibling, also comes in combustion engine form as well, in the GLB. I hope you're keeping up with all these letters because it is quite confusing. But basically what it is an electrified version of their GLB, their small 7-seat compact SUV. And as I say, if you don't want something the size and bulk of the EV9, but you do need 7 seats, then maybe this might be your answer. Now, as I say, we have road tested the car when it was first launched a couple of years ago, but this is it in here in newly revised form. Is it still worth considering? Well, time to find out. But before we get started on this week's road test review, let's take a very quick snapshot just to remind ourselves what the EQB is all about. Well, as I said, it's the electric version of the GLB, Mercedes' compact yet 7-seat SUV. It's had some small styling changes as well as a revision to its trim levels and equipment levels. There is also now the addition of a single motor option with a bigger battery. The WLTP ranges for the car go from 321 miles down to 268 miles, depending on the model you choose. And in terms of price, prices start from round about £53,000 and go up to just over £61,000, depending on the trim level and battery size. So despite wearing the EQ badge, this is not a bespoke EV platform that it sits on. It is an electrified version of a combustion engine car that Mercedes-Benz already build. So therefore, does it carry those compromises that we normally associate with such a car? And is it worth your money, especially in top trim level when it's over £60,000, which is getting tantalisingly close to the base spec of that Kia EV9? Well, of course, the only way we're going to find out is by putting it through the actual road test that car buyers trust when it comes to choosing their next electric vehicle. And that is the AutoEV one. Now, like I said, we road tested the EQB when it was first launched, but in fairness, that was a German sort of specified car that came into the UK. It wasn't quite the right UK spec. And Mercedes-Benz have revised the EQB, and believe it or not, they have changed the styling a little bit, although at first glance it might not appear so, but trust me, they have. You've got revised headlights here that kind of sweep from the front round into the side wings as well. The grille section that you would have obviously in a GLB is the usual. It's kind of filled in with this kind of big plastic area here that Mercedes-Benz normally do on the front of their EQ range, but it also now has the three-dimensional kind of star pattern, as they call it, across it. Little stars that surround the big three-pointed star in the middle there. You get your front sort of like facing camera on the higher spec models which are in there. I'll talk about specs and trims a little bit later. It's not on this particular one. As obviously you get your big three-pointed star in the middle, but you'd also get your Mercedes-Benz, traditional Mercedes-Benz badge on the bonnet, as you'd expect. And this bumper area here is re-profiled at the front just to allow better aerodynamics and more kind of airflow. Efficiency has been one of the areas where Mercedes-Benz have wanted to improve the car, but as I say, we will talk about that in the usability section. So as I say, at first glance you might not think it, but there are some styling changes to the EQB. It's still quite a handsome, kind of almost kind of mini G-Wagon look about it, and I quite like it. Now inside profile, again, you might not think a lot has changed, and in fairness, I don't think there's really any big sheet metal work changes, but there are obviously some small time. I'm pleased they've got rid of the kind of silly kind of EQ badging from the side there. That's gone now, so it's just a nice smooth panel across. Depending on trim levels, which as I say we'll talk about in the pricing, will depend on the wheel size you get. The base model gets 18-inch wheels. This is sort of like the next rung up. This gets 19s, but the two top of the range models get 20-inch wheels. I think these are probably about right for the car, but we'll talk about that when we're driving it. Down the side, what do you expect to see? Well, of course, you've got your kind of usual kind of Mercedes door mirrors with the side repeaters inbuilt in there, and then of course you get your large kind of satin kind of aluminium roof rails for adding on extra crossbars for roof racks, roof boxes, bikes, that kind of thing. A little bit of chrome kind of down through the centre, down to the centre of that kind of black plastic cladding, which is at the bottom of the doors, which is quite nice because it does wrap around the sills, a bit like I said with the Kia. So when you're getting in and out the car, you don't get your trousers kind of dirty. Because it covers up the sills, which is quite nice. I do like that. Privacy glass obviously in this model, and of course you can see it's that kind of box, as I say, almost kind of mini kind of G-Wagon shape. I did say this right back in my first road test review of it. Way back, there used to be a car Mercedes used to produce, I think back in the sort of the 90s into the early noughties, that we never got in the UK, called the GLK. It was their kind of small, sort of like a mini SUV. As I say, it sat underneath the M class. We never got it, and this is the sort of newer version of that, and it does remind me of that car. It's kind of squared off and a bit chunky and a bit boxy, which adds to its practicality. And as I say, I do like it. And as you come round the back, well, it's a bit like the front. You don't really see at first glance the kind of changes that they've made, but there are some small changes. There's a redesigned kind of rear light configuration. These rear lights are different. Of course, the light bar goes across as it did before. High-mounted brake light and sort of like the big roof spoiler there. Obviously a rear wiper, which is great news. You get your three-pointed star in the middle, which is not just your boot release and not just your badge, but also the reverse camera for when you're in reverse. That flips open and shows you what's behind you. And like the front, there's a new kind of re-profiled rear bumper area with this kind of diffuser section, again to aid with airflow, to improve the efficiency of the car. You get a nice kind of chrome strip across the top of the bumper just to help when you're kind of loading and unloading sort of bits and pieces in the car, and just your badging there. So no surprises. And as I say, if you've got the old EQB or a GLB and you're thinking of moving into an electric car, you're not going to be in for any shocks here. But what do you think about this? Should Mercedes-Benz have followed the example they did with the bigger EQ models? Should they have done it a completely different style to the petrol engine equivalent, the GLB? Or do you like the fact that it's this kind of way? One thing I will say, a bit like BMW do with the i4 and of course the i5 and the i7, if you've been used to sort of like the combustion engine cars, they're not making you sort of like stand apart in some respects with this car, because if you just go into your dealership and you say, I want petrol with the GLB, or I want electric with the EQB. So as I say, if you're a traditional Mercedes-Benz customer, it's not a big shock to you for this car. But do you think they should have styled it differently? Of course, as always, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Okay, practicality. Well, it's 7 seats, as I say. But it is fair to say that unlike the Kia, when all 7 seats are in place, the boot space isn't ideal. Now obviously I don't have my suitcases because I'm at the UK launch of these revised models, so I don't have my suitcases with me, but if you have a look at that, it's all right. You might get a soft bag in there or two maybe, but I think those roof rails will come in handy if you're going on holiday and there's 7 of you, because you'll definitely need a roof box on the top. However, these rearmost seats do fold down, and you just pull the side tabs and they flip down as such. And there you are, and that takes the boot size to 495 litres. Which is all right, but you got to think that something like a Skoda Enyaq with 500 litres is a bit bigger. So if you're not needing the 7 seats, would you buy this car? Potentially, but we'll get on to that a little bit later. If you do then fold the middle row down, it goes up to 1,710 litres. So there's a big sort of like chunk of space there. What is quite nice about it is how square it is, because I see it's quite sort of like square at the back, so you do get a lot of usable space. And if you do have people sat in those rearmost seats, I don't know if you can see there, but you do have USB-C ports and then a little kind of tray there. So if they are sitting there, if it's the kids, then obviously they can plug their machines in and charge up their iPads or iPhones or whatever it is that they use. There is also a load cover that goes across that when you've got sort of like, you know, the rearmost seats folded down, so you do have a luggage cover as well. There isn't, however, really any underfloor storage. I mean, there's a tiny trough there, but that's not enough to store cables. So unfortunately, they have to come lying loose in a bag or in a case, which isn't ideal. But then it is a smaller car than something like the EV9, so what do we expect? So how is it in those rearmost seats? Well, here's me losing dignity. You have to slide that forward, and it's not easy really to get in. And then once you're in, jeepers, oh, blimey. I'll leave that. Well, look, as I say, it's probably just going to be for children, to be honest with you. But what other small compact SUV does offer you the option of 7 seats? And in fairness, I can get my feet under that seat, but I do need to have it slid forward for me. And I'm only 5'8", admittedly, but something like my daughter, you know, who's 10, she could fit back here. You know, her and maybe a pal, if I was taking a few of them out for, you know, to the cinema or going for ice creams or whatever they were doing. So in fairness, it's all right, but just don't expect many 6-foot basketball players to be back here. There's no doubt, however, that if you're an adult, it's this second row, which is the much more comfortable option for you. And actually, it's really nice back here because it's like that kind of stadium style seating, so you sit quite high up, but there is plenty of headroom. I suppose if you're encroaching on that 6-foot mark, then you're going to start to feel a little bit tight, or if it had the panoramic roof, then it's a little bit kind of closer to your head. But I've got bags of space back here, and I actually sit above, my eye line's above the head restraint of both of these seats, so you get the feeling of spaciousness back here. There's a reasonable amount of legroom as well, good amount of legroom, and whilst there is a transmission tunnel, it's not too intrusive. So potentially, yes, 3 across is all right. Certainly, as I say, if you've got children, or you've got children and their friends going out with you, so as I say, that's a lot better. And actually, it's quite comfortable back here. You get the fold down armrest if there's just the 2, with obviously your obligatory cup holders in them as well. That kind of folds up, and of course, as I say, it's a 40-20-40 split on the rear seat on this bench, so if you want that centre section down to put a long load through, then there's plenty of room to do that. Down here, there's this little thing folds out, there's USB-C, a little trough there, tiny little kind of bit there as well, and there's some door bins in the back, although they're not massive and they're not particularly, well, they're not lined at all. But in fairness, as I say, it's this second row where adults are going to feel most comfortable, and leave the smaller kids into the third row back there. But yeah, it's all right, it's okay. Good family car. So, familiar up front as well to the old EQB, but with some small changes and some welcome changes as well. Not that there was a huge amount wrong with the old EQB, I really liked it. But what they've changed, I really think they've changed for the better, and it's really good. I won't go on too much because I say there's not an awful lot to really talk about in terms of that. The styling is the same inside as it was. So you still get the 2 kind of, I think they're 10 1/4 inch screens across the top infotainment and driver display here. You still get your physical heating controls down there, which I really do like. You know, temperature either side, then sort of like fan speed, airflow, that type of thing in there. And of course you get your 3 face vents there with the 2 of the ultra ones there. That's still a little bit of bugbear of mine. Whilst they're kind of nice, I like the way they click, they do feel a bit plasticky when you touch them. That's the one area Mercedes-Benz interiors I do feel let down by, is these face vents. And across all models, I don't think they feel as nice as they could. But there we go. Let me just turn the fan speed off. There we go. Oh, take that off. There we are. Right, let me just quickly talk about this, because this is the new MBUX system, and an MBUX user interface I think is one of the best out there. So whilst you do get wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, the embedded navigation that Mercedes-Benz use is phenomenal. It's very good. You can have 3D, you can have 2D, you can see the particular map that it has there. You can have it up north, you can, you know, sort of not facing north, you can have it route guidance. It's brilliant. It really is very, very good. But whereas before, if you were in the navigation, for instance, and you wanted to change radio station, you had to come out of it and go into it. Now you've got layers on it. So now you can just go straight to that radio station and change it. Now you can just go straight to your phone if you're not using, say, CarPlay or Android Auto. So very good. It's a lot quicker, and it's really nice that they're not buried in the menus. The other thing I like about it, and you'll know this if you're a regular viewer, that I really dislike all these safety systems where you've got to delve into the menu to turn off. The speed limit warning on the Mercedes is just there, so it's just a click. You just touch it there, that's it. So whilst it's on the screen, it's always on the screen. And then some of the other things are located on the steering wheel. So there is physical controls and easy to get to, sort of like menus and such, like if you want to change something. So I do like that, that's excellent. The driving position is superb, it really is. You get it feels quite firm, the seat, but it's really supportive. You can extend the squab as well, a bit like you can in the BMWs, and I like that because I like a lot of support underneath my thighs. Reach and rake adjustment on the steering wheel, revised steering wheel design, so it's a bit like the EQS AMG ones with the double kind of spoke, although it's a 3-spoke design. You get the kind of double spokes here. Which have got the touch sensitive controls, but they're actually pretty good to use. Sorry, it's just switched itself off because it thought I was not doing anything. So if I go into that, you can configure by using the buttons, and they're actually really nice to use. I don't say that a lot about touch sensitive buttons, but the Merc ones are brilliant. They're much better than the Volkswagens. They're not too sensitive, and you do get that nice little click when you touch them. If you want to duplicate your navigation there, you can, or if you want different sort of like style of dials up, the classic style, the sporty style, or the understated, you can. So you can just choose how you see the things in front of you. So that's good. The other thing about the sort of like the steering wheel area is they retain the sort of like the 2 stalks. So you get your main beam, wipers and indicators all in the left hand stalk, and your gear shift is all done via the right hand stalk, so that's all fine as well. Cruise control, media controls there on the steering wheel that you've been used to, so there's no point going through all of that again. Depending on the trim level, depending on what you get, this is the AMG line Executive, so this is the lead-in AMG line car, so it just gets the heated seats. They are manually adjustable, however. That's the one thing I will say, that's a bit stingy given the price of the car. They're manually adjustable, they don't have memory on them, so that's a little bit, you've got to move up the specs to get that. You do, however, I say, get wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You also now get wireless charging pad. That's standard. These are standard across the range. They don't get the touchpad anymore. You just get this nice little kind of tray for kind of leaving your keys in, or a wallet or whatever whilst you're driving. And everything is done off the screen. It's all touch screen done now. Drive mode select, volume control there, and your parking camera as well. So you can active park assist, and there's a bit more features in some of the parking assist. So longitudinal parking and that type of thing if you go for that particular parking grade. Baseline, what's it called, Sport Executive, gets the kind of Artico kind of man-made leather. You move up the range and you get into this kind of, sort of like this Alcantara / leatherette style kind of material, which is quite nice because it grips you well. But yeah, it's like the old MB Tex, I always think. It feels more vinyl than leather, in fairness. Storage is good. I say wireless charging there, cup holders there, centre cubby box there with USB-C charging in there, and reasonably deep door bins that are actually rubber lined on the bottom and the front, which is nice. As I say, the styling of it's really good as well, so I do like that. Light switches are down here. Obviously you get auto lights and wipers as you'd expect, electric park brake, and all your window controls are mounted on the door. So look, I'm not going to go through it all again because I say they haven't changed that much. They've got rid of the trackpad and it's all touchscreen. The MBUX interface is even better than it was before, and I still think it's one of the best ones out there. The voice activation is exceptionally good on it. It even recognises a thick Scottish accent like mine, so that's very good. And you can change the display how you see fit, and it's a very comfortable car to drive. So in fairness, there's not really a lot they needed to change in it. If you get on with the style of it, which I do, then you'll like it. My only downside is there's just little areas where it feels a little bit kind of cheaper, especially this kind of piano black kind of plastic that comes on there. It'd just be nice to see that maybe just change slightly. But on the whole, I'd say it's a good solid effort. Changed where it needed to be changed, left well alone where it didn't need to be. Good interior. Now this is the big change with the EQB. 2 different batteries and 3 different sort of like drivetrains, if you like, in terms of power outputs, and that's a big change from last time. So excuse the book because I've just literally come up here this morning and just got the information. So basically what you have is the lead-in car, which is the 250, the EQB 250 Plus, which this car is. It's a single motor car, but this one gets the biggest battery. It's 70.5 kilowatt hours on the battery, which should give a WLTP range of up to 321 miles. On the slightly bigger wheels that will drop a little bit, but still WLTP is over 300 miles on it. If you go for the bigger battery, which comes on the 300, the EQB 300 and the EQB 350, both of those cars are 4MATIC, so in other words dual motors, and you get a smaller battery, believe it or not, which is the same as the old EQB, which also was dual motor, and that is a 66.5 kilowatt hour battery. Now that will give a range of up to 268 miles on the dual motor cars. That'll be for the 300. The 350 when we're powered up is slightly lower than that. So say between 250 and 270 miles for the smaller battery that you're going to get. Charging speeds are the same across both batteries, and they're pegged disappointingly at 100 kilowatts. But even so, you should still see a benchmark 10 to 80% charge between 32 and 35 minutes, depending on the battery size. If you are charging up from your 7 kilowatt wall box, then that is going to take roughly 11 hours 15 on the bigger battery and 10 hours 45 on the smaller battery. However, despite sort of like, as I say, the sort of like disappointing charging speeds, you do get as standard an 11 kilowatt charger on here. So if you've got the 3-phase electricity at home or your workplace, then obviously your charging times can come down if you're using one of those bigger and faster wall boxes. The other thing that's new for the car is it comes with a heat pump as standard, so that should certainly help with its efficiency. Okay, so when it comes to power, as I said before, you just had in the older EQB that's been out for the last couple of years, you just had the dual motor variants in the UK, whereas now there's this, the 250 Plus. It's a single motor variant, and this has around about 190 brake horsepower, and this will do the 0 to 60 sprint just over 8 seconds. Plenty fast enough in some respects for this type of car. If you do want more, then you go up to the 300, which is 228 brake horsepower from memory, that's correct, and that does the 0 to 60 sprint in just over 7 seconds, 7.6 seconds that does. And then you've got the 350, which is 280 horsepower there or thereabouts, and that gives you the 0 to 60 sprint down to 6 seconds. Now if you do need the dual motors and the bigger performance, then that's absolutely fine. But obviously, if you want more range, then you go for the 250. And whilst it feels plenty quick enough when it's just myself in the car, I'm sure obviously more weight with 7 people in here will, you know, sort of dent that performance a little bit. So just keep that in mind. But I think this 250 could be the pick of the range, because as I say, you're getting the bigger battery, you're getting a longer range, slightly better efficiency because there's less drag because you've got obviously just the single motor rather than the 2. So yeah, it could be the one. Right, what else is it like to drive? Well, it's very nice actually. You do sit high, but not really high like you do in, say, something like the KAV9 or the Volkswagen ID Buzz, which could be another car you might consider, especially this price point, and you need practicality. So, but you sit high enough. So something like, I don't know, if you come from, let's say, a BMW X1 or a Mercedes-Benz EQA or GLA, that type of car. If you're coming into sort of, you need the bigger car, more seats, you're going to be familiar to it. What's nice about the design when you're driving is the fact that it's sort of like a little boxy car. So it's very easy to see the extremities of it. It's really, really simple to see around the car. So to place on the road, or if you're parking in a tight parking spot, even your over the shoulder view, you see the rear of the car. So that's really very good. So you have to say the styling of it, being as boxy it is exceptional. I'd also say it's got a nicer ride quality to it than the EQA, which feels quite choppy. It feels quite kind of, you know, floaty almost when you get it onto these kind of back roads. It's fine sort of like on a nice smooth kind of A road or motorway. As soon as you get into these more kind of undulating roads, the EQA starts to feel a bit floaty and bouncy, and I think if you've got kids in the back, that would soon start to sort of like wear on them in terms of car sickness. So I think this is a better car. Now this is on the 19-inch wheels, and the ride quality is actually very, very good. It's also very quiet, it's very refined, it's nice. You can get a little bit of road noise, you do feel a little bit of road noise. There's a little bit of wind rustle from the mirrors, but not enough to kind of disturb you, not enough that you would turn around and say that actually this is an uncomfortable car to drive. As you'd expect, you get your usual suspects when it comes to driving modes. So your dynamic button down here will take you through the 4 of them. You either go comfort, eco, sport or individual. When you pop it into sport, there's a noticeable change in the throttle pedal's reaction, which is very, very good. But even in sort of like the comfort mode, there's a nice kind of feel to the pedals, there's a nice weight to them, and as I say, it's very commensurate across both accelerator and brake, so it's a nicely balanced, and also the pedals are at a nice height. You don't feel there's a big step up to get onto the brake pedals, so there's a good slight change, which leads me to the driving position, which is very, very good. It's exceptionally good. The brakes, there's different regen modes, as I say. So you've got, depending on what you've got normal recuperation, which is pretty much off. You've got strong recuperation, which gives you a good level of brake regen, or you've got maximum regen, which then brings the car down to an actual stop. You've then got a further mode, so if you pull back and hold on the left paddle, it goes to intelligent recuperation. And that is basically where it's using the sat-nav and the front camera, if it's got it on the particular trim level you have, to pick up on what's around the car. So in other words, the sat-nav will know if you're coming up to say a roundabout or a junction, and in intelligent recuperation it will start to slow the car down. Once you go through the roundabout, it takes it off. And again, with the front camera on the higher spec models, it will know if the car in front is slowing down, and therefore will apply the intelligent recuperation to it. Steering has a really nice direct kind of feel to it. As soon as you turn the wheel, you get an immediate response. There is a little bit of body roll when you go into the corners. As you'd expect, it's quite a tall kind of slab-sided car, so that shouldn't really come as a massive surprise to you. But it's not, again, it's like the ride, it's not uncomfortable, it's not sort of like disconcerting. And again, it's not really a car you want to kind of really throw down a big twisty kind of B road. You know, it is more of that kind of practical, and I hate to use the expression, school run type of car. You know, where you can chuck all the kids in the back, or as I say, you're going out at the weekend, you're taking your son and your daughters and their friends or whatever out to the cinema or something. It's just that style of car. On the whole, in summary, Mercedes-Benz, a bit like I said with the interior, they've kind of changed the bits that needed change to the car, or that's become a welcome change to it, and they've left well alone where they didn't need to change it. And that's really very good. I have to commend Mercedes-Benz for that. And what it has resulted in is a really nice, small, compact SUV that you can seat up to 7 people in. And it feels quality, and it feels comfortable, and it's a Mercedes-Benz, and it's just a really good car. Now, as I said earlier, there are 4 trim levels. across all three sort of like cars, so your 250 plus, your 300 4MATIC and your 350 4MATIC. Once you've kind of chosen which size of drivetrain is going to suit you, then you choose your trim level. Now I'm going to give you figures just for the 250 plus, because this is the car that we've actually got on test here today, so this is sort of like the base prices, if you like. So for your 250 plus, your lead-in trim level is the Sport Executive, and that comes in at £52,800. Next you move up to this car, which is the AMG line Executive, which is £55,060. You then go up to your AMG line Premium, which is £58,060, and then your AMG line Premium Plus, which tops out at £61,060. Now obviously those prices will go up if you choose either the 300 4MATIC or of course the 350 4MATIC, but those are the prices for the 250. And in fairness, do you need the dual motor car? I'm not sure you do. I think this could be the sweet spot in the range, because in terms of its efficiency, this is the one that gives the best miles. So at least, although you're choosing the single motor car with the sort of basic price, at least you are getting the longer range with it, because you get the bigger battery with the car. So that's a good move on Mercedes-Benz's part. Now unfortunately, disappointingly, the warranty is still just the usual kind of 3 years mechanical warranty that you get with Mercedes-Benz. But obviously you get other little benefits, such as the Mercedes Me charging ability, and of course there's the battery warranty, which is bigger, is longer than the car warranty as well. And of course you get Mercedes-Benz, they used to call it Mobile Life, I think it's now called Mercedes-Benz Me, which I think covers you up to about 30 years for roadside recovery. So although the mechanical warranty is a bit disappointing, the rest of it's not too bad. Now when it comes to competition for the car, it is quite tricky, because it is a bit of a kind of, I'm not going to call it an oddball because that's being unfair to it, but there's not really an awful lot of choice out there, because your main reason I think for choosing the EQB is the fact that it does have those 7 seats, and it is a little bit roomier in the back than something like the EQA is. So if you're looking at other 7-seaters, well really you're looking at an MPV, so that's either way down in the price, such as something like the Peugeot e-Rifter or the Citroen e-Berlingo, or the Toyota Pro-Ace or Vauxhall, whatever their version of it's called, as well. So that's the kind of combo, that's it, Vauxhall combo. So, but they're way cheaper in terms of the price point. Or you go up a size and you look at something like the Kia EV9, which does start in sort of like the mid-60s if you go for the 7-seat Air model with the EV9, and it is a much bigger car, and that's where a lot of people are struggling a bit in terms of its physical size. Do you need something that size if you'd maybe just occasionally using the 7 seats? And then if you want 7 seats, are you not more practical going for something like an MPV anyway? And if you need the sort of like the big MPVs, then it's Mercedes-Benz, it's the EQV. That's what offers you 7 seats. Although of course there is going to be another one coming to market soon, and that is the longer wheelbase version of the Volkswagen ID Buzz, which again at round about the sort of like that 50 to £60,000 bracket might also be a consideration, even in its 5-seat form. See, here's what we like and what we don't like about the new Mercedes-Benz EQB. Well, we like its styling. It's a very refined drivetrain. The driver interface and MBUX operating system, and the fact that it offers room for 7. And now of course there's a slightly cheaper single motor variant with a bigger battery and better efficiency. We don't like, well, the charging speed is still quite disappointing, and even though it does have the 3 rows of seats, that third row really is only for small children. And in higher specification form, the price is starting to creep into the next size above, where the Kia EV9 sits. So, newly revised Mercedes-Benz EQB, what do we make of it? Well, as I say, it is a little bit of an oddity, isn't it? Because, as I say, if you need the 7 seats, then you've got to have something really big, such as the EQV or the Kia EV9. Or you've got to go way cheaper, and dare I suggest, look at something that's maybe not quite as stylish looking, such as the Citroen Berlingo or the Peugeot e-Rifter. So it does kind of sit unique in that market space. And yes, in higher spec guises with the dual motors, it's starting to get a little bit expensive. It's sort of like £60,000 plus. But I think this one, the 250, if you stick to sort of maybe one of the lower 2 trims, does offer something that's slightly sort of like more kind of a bit of an oddity in the class, but a very likeable oddity. If you need the space and that's your budget, there's pretty much nothing else can touch the little EQB unless you go for that gargantuan Kia EV9. I like it. Thank you for watching yet another episode of AutoEV. As always, please make sure you are subscribed to the AutoEV channel. Then once you've done that, make sure you've pressed the little bell button down below, because that's the way you'll get notification of when our next video is uploaded and it's gone live. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, then please make sure that you give it a thumbs up, and don't forget, leave me your thoughts and comments down below. What do you think of the Mercedes-Benz EQB? Have you got a GLB? Would this tempt you to go all electric? Because obviously you've got the usability that you've been used to. Well, you're looking at the Kia EV9 thinking, that is just too big for me. What I need is a slightly smaller car. Would this tempt you? Have you got the Volkswagen ID Buzz on order with the 7 seats and thinking, actually, do I need something that size? What about this? As always, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Now remember, we're across all social media platforms as well. So Facebook, X, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, we're there as well. So please give us a follow there too. And if you are thinking about buying a new electric car and you need more information, then please have a delve through the YouTube channel, because every new electric car that hits the UK market, we put through the very thorough and very detailed AutoEV road test to make sure that you've got all the information that you need before you walk into your local dealership and start asking them questions. So make sure you have a little gander through our back catalogue, because there's plenty to be getting on with. All that remains for me to say is thank you once again for watching, and thank you for continuing to support the channel. I will see you again soon.